Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Tails, or you can call me Ray. I'm a level 29 traditional and digital artist who likes to think they specialize in writing and tattoo work. I had a friend ask me recently what my art process is like, and how long pieces usually take me. This inquiry helped spark the idea for this video. Before we get started, I'd like to mention there's also going to be a version of this video without voiceover, if that's more of your vibe today. I will make sure to link that down below in the description box and link it here in the video somewhere so that you can maybe check that one out instead. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink or snack, and without further ado, I'll explain the challenge I decided to take upon myself. I wanted to attempt drawing in 10 different artists' styles, and with each one I had rules established for myself to follow. Rule number 1. The style I tried out had to be completely different than my own in such a way that it was both visually interesting and it caused me to use tools in Procreate that I wouldn't normally be. Rule number 2. There needed to be 2 or more artists out of the 10 who weren't considered quote-unquote furry artists. I wanted to go back to my manga/anime style I started out with before making the transition to doing mostly digital work. Rule number 3, I wanted to feature artists who, for the most part, save for a few on the list, inadvertently not only helped shape my own style, but also fueled my passion for art. Rule number 4, the featured style from each artist must come from ones who are still active online. This one was actually one of the biggest and most important rules that I made for myself. The first artist style I attempted was Suncat Studios, aka Citronelle, from Twitter, or, as it's known as now, X.
No one's really gonna call it that, Elon.
Out of the 10 styles, I feel like they have the most digital friendly for stickers, banners, and the like. Their style is recognizable and extremely expressive. For each style I did, I only wanted to have to draw a singular character, so I went with my foray, Jasmine. Jasmine was an adoptable character that I actually got through DeviantArt, probably about 5 to 7 years ago now, so any info I have on them will be down in the description box if you're wondering. And overall, 5 to 7 years is only a part of the time that I've actually been a digital artist on social media. But I wanted to try out Suncat Studios style for the first round because I have followed them since almost the very beginning of my journey as a digital artist. As with the reference that I used from Citronelle, I decided that I wanted to do kind of a more mute palette than what I would normally be utilizing for a picture, so that was kind of interesting for me to play around with, and I don't know if I really conveyed an emotion like theirs does, but I had fun, so that's what matters. The sketch here that I'm doing is supposed to look like Wallaby T's style. And Wallaby T is an animal conservationist. I believe they still work at a zoo that is in their area. They are an Australian artist, which kind of makes them a little bit more, unique than the artists on this list. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that's pretty cool. It's one of the places I've always wanted to visit. They are a member of the LGBTQ community, and thylacines are their go-to animals to draw. I mentioned they are part of the LGBTQ community because it is something that they are very passionate about, and most of their artwork, if it's not about animal conservation, is about their preferences. As with Suncat Studios, I really feel like Wallaby T has a really fun, simple style. But while Suncat Studios usually uses very bright and saturated colors, Wallaby T likes to use natural colors and more muted colors that will blend in with outdoor surroundings. I've always been a huge animal lover myself, so being able to have an artist to look up to that feels the same way is really encouraging. And for the next few minutes, we are going to be looking at the sketches that I did for each of these different styles. Above, you can see the one that I did for Suncat Studios and the one that I did for Dreamelion in the middle top there. Here, I'm doing a sketch that really isn't coming out very good, but I'm trying to mold the body into the shape that I want. This style is supposed to be the Invaders, or she was also known as Twisted Acrylics at one point. The Invader usually likes to do artwork surrounding Sonic, Undertale, Invader Zim, and Friday Night at Freddy's. That's where a lot of their inspiration comes from, besides just drawing their own persona like is pictured here. They are also very good at doing soft fur detailing. They do extremely expressive characters, fan art, and they do a very, very soft looking 3D painting, kind of like the one that is on the bottom right here. I'll be honest, these sketches usually are what take the most time for me when I'm doing a piece, and for things like this where I'm doing multiple pieces, it kind of feels a little bit overwhelming for me sometimes. I already have a preconceived idea of what I want the character or the piece to look like, and if it doesn't turn out exactly what I'm expecting, I kind of get a little disappointed. But that is all a part of learning and the process of actually being an artist, because learning what you dislike and what you like to do and kind of smooshing that all together is what helps to create your own style. When I'm sketching things out, I usually start with the face first. I start with either the nose or the eyes for some reason, because when I can start with the head of the character, it usually comes easier for me, whereas when I started with this one, for example, I started with the shoulders and the body, which made it really, really awkward for me to try to add all of the other limbs and form to the character, as opposed to if I wouldn't have done it that way. Also, conveniently, this artist, the Invader, also uses very bright and saturated colors, similar to Suncat Studios. And while Suncat does have a very comic book type feel to their artwork, in my opinion, the Invader has definitely a comic book feel, but I feel like they are more suited to animation and plush making and things like that, which is ironically what they have chosen to do for their path. So this sketch obviously is the first draft, the first go around that I was setting up the pose and figuring out how I wanted the character to be, posed. Duh. So right after this, I go into redlining and I end up doing, I believe it's the first 3 to 4 sketches here that have already been done. Obviously, this one is the Dreamelion sketch. Dreamelion's style is really, really cool. I really love it. It can be described as psychedelic. I love the just pop of colors that they use. It's so different from what I normally do. My coloring when I do inking usually is going to be something that looks more natural, kind of like Wallaby Tea's style. I like to use colors that are true to whatever you're looking at. Whereas with Dreamelion, they do that, but they also give their own spin to it, which really makes the characters that they draw pop, in my opinion. See, here we are going back in and redlining the sketch that we did for the Invaders style. As an artist, though, the reason why you would redline something is to kind of give yourself more of a base of how you're going to set the line work up for yourself. This gives a better opportunity to put in the details that you otherwise wouldn't have had if you just kept it as a rough sketch. See, right here, I'm going back in and I'm kind of redrawing his paw, making it look more hand-like. Here I, obviously am adding the toes. I usually don't redline my sketches, but for the sake of this video I did, and for the sake of getting the styles correct and making the proportions the way that that specific artist would draw them, was a bit of a challenge for me, I will admit. Obviously, with each piece, I draw in steps. I will do the sketch first, line work, inking. Sometimes I do the inking and the line work at the same time just to get I guess, a more solid feel for the character. My mind's eye has a really hard time thinking in 3D spaces for some reason, but I can think of designs and how I want things to be set up. One thing I've been really trying to work on with my artwork is dynamic posing and dynamic expressions. So when I talk about other artists having the ability to give their characters extreme emotion, that's what I'm talking about. I want to be able to depict that in my artwork, but as of right now, I just feel like the characters are flat, so that is one of the biggest reasons as to why I'm giving myself these challenges so that I can make my artwork feel a little bit more alive to myself. And if you don't have the artistic eye like I do, you may not have noticed that with each of these pictures and each of these styles, I am drawing Jasmine, but I am also changing the colors to that person's style. So the colors I talked a little bit about before, and we'll get into that a little bit more as it goes on, but the colors really are what make the piece come together. And if you don't get the right tones and the right saturation for the colors, then you may come out with a different product than what you were expecting. So, for example, going back to when I was working on DreamEllion's style piece, that one, when I go in and do the colors, I haven't actually finished it as of yet. That will be in part 2. But when I do, I'm going to put in a bunch of overlays, and those overlays are going to give me the colors and textures that I want in order to make the piece pop. As with Wallaby T's style and Suncat Studio style, I really don't have to do that, and again, with Wisp Will's style, I didn't really have to do that either, because they have a more naturalistic looking color palette. One thing that I also said earlier in the video that I want to correct myself on is that I used more muted colors with the Suncat Studios styled picture, and that is untrue. I did not use more muted colors. What I meant to say was that with that specific piece, I was working within the same color range, so I was working with only blue. I am working with blues in the other styled pictures as well, but I have a little bit more freedom with those styled pictures because I get to use shading and lighting in a different way, and that adds a little bit more of an ability to be able to draw the viewer's eye to certain places in the piece. You can also do this with the line work, but with the line work, it's a little bit more of a fine art pun. But you can actually use the line work to add a little bit of shading to your piece and a little bit more oomph to your line work if you're going for a bolder look instead of a thin line work. Kind of like the picture I'm working on now. One thing you may notice that I'm going to actually add to this piece as well is white lines. Here you can see that I'm going to be adding it to most of the piece, but what the white lines do for an artist is it again helps draw the viewer's eye to where the artist wants them to look, but then it also draws certain pieces out, and it helps give that more je ne sais quoi and put together look, shall we say. Over the years, I think I've learned where to put the white lines and where I like them to be placed in my own artwork, and being able to observe other artists and the way that they do things has really helped me to be able to develop that technique. We're gonna go straight on into DreamEllion styled picture here, and I really love these big eyes, but they were super duper hard to do. I had to redraw that quite a few times. Did not have fun with having to do the proportions because those are not my regular proportions I would draw in. But I was able to just whiz through this Wisp Will one because I've been watching them as an artist for probably the last, decade, and then we're just gonna swim through here to Bug Island. Yeah. That happened super quickly, I'm sorry. Here's the finished piece. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really loved making it, and I hope that you come back for part 2. Ta-da! Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, please, down below. Check out the description box for all of these wonderful artists and their links below. I will chat with you guys later. I feel like I just said chat. I'm sorry. Chat. Love ya.